In the heart of Gaza, a deep and terrible hunger is taking lives. This is not just a story about a lack of food, it is a story about a man-made disaster where people, especially children, are dying because they cannot eat. The situation has become a serious crisis, a humanitarian catastrophe that the world is watching. Every day families wake up not knowing if they will find anything to feed their children. The air is filled with sorrow and desperation as the basic need for food becomes a daily life-or-death struggle for survival in a place marked by constant conflict. The numbers tell a story of immense suffering. Since the war began, more than 59,000 people have lost their lives. Among them, over 17,000 were children, their futures stolen by the violence. But another quieter enemy is also claiming victims: starvation. At least 111 people, including 80 children, have died from hunger. In just a few days, 21 children died from malnutrition in Gaza's hospitals. These are not just statistics. They are young lives that ended because they did not have enough food or clean water to survive the harsh reality of this ongoing conflict. The youngest and most vulnerable are suffering the most. Imagine a place where 600,000 people, including 60,000 pregnant women, are showing signs of malnutrition. This means they are weak, their bodies are not getting the nutrients they need, and they are becoming sick more easily. For a child, not having enough food can cause permanent damage to their growing bodies and minds. The United Nations has said that people in Gaza are literally starving to death, a situation that has reached astonishing levels of desperation as families search for anything at all to eat. The pain is felt in every corner of Gaza. Aid workers and even journalists have started hunger strikes to protest this use of starvation as a weapon of war. They are trying to show the world the severity of the crisis. Families are forced to make impossible choices, often sharing tiny amounts of food among many people. The feeling is one of abandonment and despair. They see aid trucks far away, but the help does not reach them. This creates a heartbreaking scene where hope is very hard to find and every day is a battle to stay alive. The main reason for this devastating hunger is that it is extremely difficult to get aid into Gaza. For a long time, Israel put a full blockade on the area, which means nothing could come in or go out. This blockade was partially lifted, but the United Nations says the amount of aid now allowed in is vastly insufficient. It is like trying to put out a huge fire with only a few drops of water. The flow of food, medicine and fuel is just a small fraction of what is needed to support the millions of people who are trapped and hungry. Even when aid does get into Gaza, it is very dangerous to deliver it. The United Nations Human Rights Office reports that over 1,000 Palestinians have been killed while trying to get food from aid trucks. These people were desperate and were only trying to find something for their families to eat. Israeli forces have attacked locations near aid distribution sites and convoys. This creates a terrible situation where the very act of seeking help can be deadly, forcing people to risk their lives for a bag of flour or a can of food. The people trying to help are also in danger. The World Health Organization, a group that helps with health crises, had its main warehouse in Gaza attacked. The building was damaged by explosions and fire, and supplies were looted. This makes it much harder for the WHO to support the few hospitals that are still working. The head of the UN's Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has been blocked from entering Gaza. Humanitarian workers are systematically being denied visas, which stops them from doing their life-saving work on the ground. A new aid group, backed by Israel and the United States, has started working in Gaza. However, major international aid organizations like the UN refuse to work with it. They are worried that the group's work might be controlled by the Israeli military and not focused purely on helping people. This disagreement makes it even harder to get help to those who need it most. The confusion and lack of cooperation mean that while leaders talk, ordinary people, including innocent children, continue to starve and suffer from the lack of a coordinated, safe and effective aid system. Many countries and organizations around the world are watching the crisis in Gaza with great concern. More than 100 aid groups have come together to issue a powerful warning, stating that mass starvation is spreading and calling for urgent action to be taken against Israel. They see the situation getting worse every day and feel that not enough is being done to stop it. The head of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has called the situation a horror show, with a level of death and destruction that is unlike anything seen in recent times. World leaders are starting to speak out more strongly. The European Union has warned Israel that there will be consequences if it does not stop the killing of people at aid distribution points. A top EU diplomat said that all options remain on the table, showing that they are considering serious actions. 25 countries, including the United Kingdom, France, Australia and Canada, have also joined together. They are calling for an immediate end to the war and have condemned the inhumane killing of civilians and the slow, insufficient delivery of aid, which they describe as drip-feeding. Efforts to find a peaceful solution are happening behind the scenes, but they are moving very slowly. The United States, along with Qatar and Egypt, is trying to get both sides to agree to a ceasefire. A special envoy from the US is traveling to Europe to discuss the ceasefire and to talk about creating a safe corridor to bring in more aid. President Trump has also reportedly called the Israeli Prime Minister to discuss the war. However, while these talks continue, the fighting and the suffering on the ground have not stopped, leaving families caught in the middle. Despite these calls for peace and action, the reality for people in Gaza has not changed. The international pressure has not yet been enough to open the floodgates of aid or to stop the violence that makes delivering it so dangerous. The world's words of condemnation have not translated into the concrete changes needed to save lives right now. For the families huddling in shelters and the aid workers risking their lives, the promises and discussions from world leaders feel very far away from their daily struggle for survival. The question we must all ask is why more is not being done. When children are dying of hunger and families are being killed while seeking food, the world has a moral duty to act. This is not a political issue, it is a human issue. The international community has the power to ensure that enough aid reaches Gaza safely. More pressure must be put on all parties in the conflict to protect civilians and to allow humanitarian workers to do their jobs without fear. The blockades must be fully lifted, and safe pathways for aid must be established immediately. We cannot turn away from this suffering. Every person who has died from starvation is a sign that the global system designed to protect human life is failing. We need more than just words of concern. We need decisive action. This means countries must use their influence to demand a ceasefire and to hold those responsible for blocking aid accountable. It means supporting organizations that are on the ground, providing them with the funding and the security they need to reach everyone in need. The world's response must be as big as the crisis itself. Hope can feel distant in a place as broken as Gaza, but it is not lost. Hope lies in the courage of the aid workers who continue their work despite the dangers. It lies in the strength of the families who share what little they have and comfort one another. And it lies in the compassion of people around the world who see this injustice and demand change. Our collective voices can create a powerful call for peace and humanity that leaders cannot ignore. We must continue to speak for those whose voices have been silenced by war and hunger. The path forward requires courage and immediate action from the global community. An immediate and lasting ceasefire is the first step to ending this nightmare. Once the fighting stops, a massive international effort will be needed to rebuild Gaza and to help its people heal from their deep wounds. The children of Gaza deserve a future where they can go to school, play outside without fear, and never have to worry about where their next meal will come from. By working together, we can help turn this hope into a reality for them.